Hey, good afternoon. Today is Friday, June the 5th, 2024. And the time now is 5:46 p.m. So, this is another episode for Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics. And this is actually episode 5 of the playlist series Trends and Headlines in Geopolitics. Now, a couple of things had been occurring for the past 3, 4, 5 days now. Okay, one being the protest in Kenya, which is basically a protest of the masses. Okay, it is a reflection of the Kenyan demographic, the Kenyan people with the young people. Okay, or they say Gen Z or Gen Zs being the overwhelming majority that is engaging in the protest, which is also a reflection of Africa's demographics, pertaining to the fact that there are a lot of young people in Africa. Now, so Gen Z had been trending for the past 1 week now or so. And then you have the debate, okay, on the 27th of June between the US President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. And then Iran is basically having a runoff election to replace the former president who died in a plane crash. And we are talking about Ibrahim Raisi. And also France is basically scheduled for the second and final round of a snap election, which was called on by the French president Emmanuel Macron. And there has been, or there is appearing to be, a terrible consequence for Macron and possibly French society, in that the far right, okay, or the far right coalition led by Marine Le Pen is basically in the lead. And it is being projected that the far right could possibly end up with an overwhelming majority in the French parliament. Of course, about an hour or two prior to this video slash talk slash program, I saw something stating that there is a possibility that Marine Le Pen's far right coalition might not gain the absolute majority that has been projected in past hours or days or so. And then we also had an election, okay, yesterday, July the 4th, in the United Kingdom, okay? So you have another election, snap election, which was called on by the now former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak. And basically the Conservative Party got obliterated. The last time I checked the poll, okay, in terms of the voting results that had been coming out, it is said so far that the Labour Party basically got about 410 to 412 seats in the British Parliament. Of course, the election result hasn't been finalized because of some delayed in other region. Okay, I think 2 major regions in the country. So that's it. But let me go ahead and start this talk. Basically, what I'm doing here is I am not giving too much of a analysis in terms of my analysis or critique. I am basically just reporting what is happening in terms of the trends and the headlines in geopolitics. Now, once again, the first topic being Gen Zs, okay? The Generation Z hasn't been sleeping, or we can say that Generation Z has been awakened, okay? And this is the case in Africa, where the young people had basically led the protest in Kenya, which basically forced the Kenyan president, William Ruto, to repeal the finance bill that, had it been passed, would have basically strained the hell out of the Kenyan people and basically dig holes into their pockets. So Gen Zs in Kenya and the phrase and the category has been trending for the past week now. And there are those in Africa, throughout Africa and throughout the African diaspora, who have been calling for similar protests throughout the continent. Okay, whether we are talking about Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, okay, Tanzania, Congo, and all over. Okay, there are those who are calling for Gen Zs to basically ignite more protest, and not just in Kenya, but throughout the continent of Africa. In terms of Kenya, Gen Z and many of those people who are participating in the protest are saying they are not going to stop. They are going to continue to protest. In fact, I was just reading an article in which William Ruto basically apologized and basically hold himself accountable or responsible for what has been transpiring in the country. And he even blasted government officials for their opulent behaviors, okay, or how they've been living. So the second topic is the debate in the United States, the presidential debate, okay, between current President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. So the debate basically was a victory for Donald Trump, and not because of substance, okay? Because what we saw to an extent was the same Trump in his ability to troll, to basically propagate whatever comes out of his mouth and not caring. However, Trump was not chaotic, or he was less chaotic, and also, for the most part, he appeared to be much more sound and healthier than Joe Biden. So basically, Donald Trump won the election by being healthy. And this week, basically, or within the past 7 days, Donald Trump managed to secure 3 major victories, okay? One being his defeating Joe Biden in the debate. 2 being that after the debate, Donald Trump basically surged in the poll. And then the third victory is basically the Supreme Court of the United States basically declaring that Donald Trump has immunity or presidential immunity on the grounds of official act. Okay, the idea that he has immunity if his action is an official action. It is a terrible thing to comprehend because it can mean a lot of things. Okay, but even if Donald Trump hadn't been granted, or even had the Supreme Court never declared that Donald Trump has immunity, presidential immunity, I do believe Joe Biden would have still pardoned Donald Trump. On the contrary, though, I don't think Donald Trump would have pardoned Joe Biden. You have Trump, whose possibility of winning the upcoming election is much higher or larger or much profound or significant than Joe Biden, is coming possibly into the presidency with an immunity, okay? Basically with a support, a protection by the court. I did stated in many videos that Donald Trump could come into the presidency again with a vengeance. If that is the case, the United States could be up for a very dangerous time, okay, a very big trouble, which could lead to mass discontent or unrest in the country. Because the manner in which Trump could come into the presidency and the things that he could do, if Democrats or others, okay, on the left decide to challenge, okay, Donald Trump and the Republicans, it could lead to a very dangerous time. I'm not going to specify what could happen, but you know what I mean. Because things like that had occurred throughout the world, okay? This is how unrest in various countries begin and ends, with one group, one sector, one section, one faction of a country's population doing something, and the other saying, look, we are not going to take it. And the next thing you look, disagreements become attack. Okay? Snippets of attacks here and there, and then you know the rest. One interesting thing is the symbolism. Donald Trump basically defeated Joe Biden in the presidential debate on the 27th of June, few days before July 4th, okay, the United States independence, okay. On July 4th, yesterday, Thursday, the United Kingdom had an election, and Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, a person of an Indian heritage, basically lost the election. I want to ask, what the hell was Sunak thinking, calling a snap election? I think he could have just ride the system, and through that, hopefully, the people forget the current state of what's happening between the government and the people and try to make some changes. We saw the same thing in France. But anyway, in terms of Sunak, it is very interesting that he called the election. But now you have a new prime minister basically had assumed the office of the prime ministership of the United Kingdom. But then I want to ask, will Stimmer basically decouple, okay, in terms of his support for Ukraine? Okay, will he support the Western alliance and the continuation of the war in Ukraine, the war against Russia? I think the war against Russia, okay, the war in Ukraine is going to continue. The Stimmer prime ministership is going to continue to support Ukraine and fund the war against Russia. But now, in terms of France, Marine Le Pen and her far right and the coalition, there is a possibility that the far right coalition could end up with an absolute majority of the seats in the French parliament. If there is a split where you have like a hung parliament, it's going to be a struggle, okay, within the French parliament. But Emmanuel Macron, I think, he put himself in a very serious but damning situation because of the fact that he called in an election at the time where his popularity was basically diminished, okay? But it is interesting that earlier I was paying attention to the Euros, and France was playing Portugal. So basically France had defeated Portugal, and it's supposed to be playing, I think, Spain, okay, in the next round. But Kylian Mbappe, the star and captain of the French national football team, Les Bleus, basically had made a statement in which he said that the far right and Marine Le Pen victory in the first round was basically, I'm going to use a word, trying to put it in my own words. Let me say chaotic, basically chaotic and problematic for the country. But we saw the French President Macron, okay, being defeated in the first round. And now on Sunday, France is scheduled for the second and final round of the snap election. And in the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak was defeated and he's no longer the Prime Minister of the UK. So the UK basically has a new Prime Minister by the name Keir Starmer. So once again, in the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer has become the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And who knows, perhaps he could be a lot better than the past prime ministers. But in terms of the United Kingdom, or as part of the West, we have a region of humanity that often propagate the whole idea of democracy and the notion that Western government, okay, or styles of government are the best. But in the United Kingdom, at least for the past 20 years, we've seen so many prime ministers, man. Who, from Tony Blair, we saw, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, Liz Truss, we saw Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, and now Keir Starmer. It's as if every 2 seconds, the United Kingdom changes prime ministers. Now, many in the country will propagate or celebrate the notion that they do have peaceful transition and peaceful democracy and all that. But when you complain that your government is not executing for the well-being of the people, while at the same time, every so often there is a change, okay, in the government, okay, there is change of prime ministers. I won't say that there is a problem with the system because it is the British system. They are used to the system. But one thing I want to ask, is this a system that is good for the rest of the world? Should the rest of the world, especially in region that is much more chaotic, should these regions adapt the style or styles of government in the West, or in this case, in the United Kingdom? I just want to pose this question. But now, let me go back to France. Recently, the current Prime Minister of Italy had been throwing shots at France a lot, basically stating that France is only relevant because it is still in control of its former colonies in Africa, okay? Where in France, they use the euros in France, but then French African countries use the francs, which basically in this case, as one of my friend would put it, they use a currency which even the French are not using, which is baseless. French African countries are using the francs to make all of their purchase and conduct businesses, okay? They use the francs where they have to pay the conversion fees as well, okay? It is interesting. You have to save your money in the francs, and then to even withdraw your money, you have to get approval of the French government. That is not freedom. That is colonialism in current times. Okay? But anyway, the Prime Minister of Italy had been throwing shots at France and the French president. Okay? From calling out France, saying that France is only relevant because of its control of former colonies in Africa, to grilling Macron. I know recently during the G7, okay, conference in Italy, the situation, the relationship between Macron and the Prime Minister of Italy is obvious that it is not good. But there was one particular incident where during a dinner, the French President Macron came in and spoke to three people, including the Prime Minister of Italy. Basically, two women, including her, and a male counterpart. The way the Prime Minister of Italy was staring at Macron like she was about to kill him. And it is very interesting, but the way she was staring at him, looking at him, it doesn't seem to be a stare that a political enemy gave a counterpart. To me, it appeared to be a stare that lovers give other lovers. Okay? Basically, you are in a relationship with this guy, and this guy cheat on you or leave you for another woman. You want to kill the hell out of him, but you cannot kill him, and you are in a public venue. You cannot basically have a fuck this dude mentality in your face. You cannot wear I hate this idiot, I'm gonna kill him right now stare, okay? Or look in your face. But the most you can do is basically just stare at him like you're gonna kill him, but you are not gonna translate those stares, that look, into a physical action where you have to hurt him. Basically, I'm saying again, the look that the Prime Minister of Italy gave Macron during the G7 conference or summit wasn't the look that a political rival gave another political rival. Or it isn't a look that one politician gave another politician. It is a look or a stare that a lover gave another lover, especially a lover who had disappointed him or her. But I'm going to add further. The fact that the Prime Minister of Italy is of the far right, let's assume that Marie Le Pen basically destroy Macron, okay? Or that Marie Le Pen and her far-right coalition take over the French parliament with an absolute majority. Will the Prime Minister of Italy continue to direct the same insult or harsh criticism at France and at Marie Le Pen that she had directed at Macron or France under Macron? Or will there be truce and friendship between the Prime Minister of Italy and Marie Le Pen, being that they are both of the far right? Okay? They are both sisters and or daughters of the far right, with the belief that Africans, Muslims, Arab, and all non-white minority group are basically worthless people who should not be in Europe. Okay? Perhaps I'm being harsh in my criticism or in the statement that I'm delivering here, but I do not mean it in that manner. But we all know that there has been condemnation of Africans and those of colors, okay? We are talking about Arabs, Muslims, and so on, or of the non-white, non-European stock in Europe. They've basically been criticized, and you're seeing extremism in Europe and called that immigrants should not be allowed in Europe. But anyway, please tell me what you think. Please join the conversation. But most importantly, thank you very much for being a part of the Echoing Voice community. And thank you very much once again for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace.